What's up everyone and welcome to this week's Cybersecurity Weekly, where we review the security events that happened in the last week. Let's jump right in.
Oh, drat these computers. They're so naughty and so complex. I could pinch them.
We start off with phishing. Financial organizations are historically among the most targeted by threat actors. There are many reasons for this, not least of which is the trove of customer data the financial sector holds, as well as the funds to pay large sums of money to regain access to encrypted data. The Morphisec Labs team has tracked a new version of a campaign targeting financial organizations. Dubbed MIRRORBLAST by ET Labs, the current attack campaign the Labs team has tracked began in early September. There was similar activity in April 2021 as well, but the current campaign began more recently. The attack chain of the infection bears a similarity to the tactics, techniques, and procedures commonly used by the allegedly Russian-based threat group TA505. The similarities extend to the attack chain, the get-and-go functionality, the final payload, and similarities in the domain name pattern. TA505 has been active since at least 2014 and, as far as analysts can ascertain, has a financial motivation for their actions. As a group, TA505 is most known for frequently charging the malware or changing the malware they use, as well as driving global trends in malware distribution. The attack chain starts with an email attachment document, but at a later stage, it changes to use the Google Feed proxy URL with SharePoint and OneDrive lure, which poses as a file share request. Now, the URLs lead to a compromised SharePoint or a fake OneDrive site that the attackers use to evade detection, in addition to a sign-in requirement that helps to evade sandboxes. The macro code can be executed only on a 32-bit version of Office due to compatibility reasons with ActiveX objects, and the macro code performs anti-sandboxing by checking if the following queries are true. Computer name is equal to user domain. Username is equal to admin or administrator. Two variants of the MSI installer have been found, with Kickstart and Rebel. Both variants are generated using the Windows Installer XML toolset, version 3.11.0.1528. Now, once executed, they drop two files into a random directory in program data. One of them is the legitimate software language interpreter executable, and the other is the malicious script. We move on to patches. Apple has silently addressed zero-day vulnerability with the release of iOS 15.02. The vulnerability could allow attackers to gain access to sensitive user information. Now, the flaw was reported to the IT giant by software developers Denis Tokarov 7 months ago. But according to the experts, Apple did not credit him. The expert claims that Apple told him they were going to fix it on August 25th, but since then, he did not receive any updates from Apple. The expert said that this is the second vulnerability fixed by Apple without crediting his work. After the release of the iOS 15.02 version, Tokarev contacted Apple requesting it to credit him for the discovery of the issue, has agreed in the past email exchange, but the company only asked him to not disclose the conversation. According to the researcher, Apple addressed one of the issues way back in July without crediting him, while the remaining flaws were, at that time, yet to be patched. The expert attempted to contact Apple for clarification, but the remaining flaws were not addressed at that time. Below is the list of GitHub repositories that contain proof-of-concept source code for the 0 days discovered by the expert, which were also shared with Apple. There's Gamed 0 Day, Knee-Helper Enumerate Installed Apps 0 Day, Knee-Helper Wi-Fi Info 0 Day, and Analytics D, which was fixed in iOS 14.7. Now, if this article, or if this information sounds familiar, it's because I covered the last attempt that he made to have Apple credit him and fix these flaws in one of my previous episodes. Now, this week, Apple has released iOS 15.0.2 and iPadOS 15.0.2 to address a zero-day flaw. Track this, CVE 2021-30883, that is actively exploited in the wild. So this guy is finding flaws in Apple that's being actively exploited in the wild. He's giving them the fix, and they're not crediting him for his work. The flaw is a critical memory corruption issue that resides in the I/O mobile frame buffer. An application can trigger the vulnerability to execute commands on vulnerable devices with kernel privileges. Apple is aware of attacks in the wild exploiting this flaw, but it has avoided sharing details about them. Now, again, if this sounds familiar to you, it is. I reported on the first time this researcher claimed to not be credited for his hard work in an earlier episode. Now, this is extremely frustrating. People like this researcher, who is getting stiffed for his honest and hard work to help a billion or even $1 trillion company keep their products safe. As it is, bug bounties can be pretty petty, with payouts as little as like $50 for bugs that are found. Now, if companies treat white hat hackers and researchers with such little respect that they don't even acknowledge the researchers' help in finding these critical flaws that are actively exploited in the wild. Now, these flaws are in their product, not in the researcher's product. But the company even tries to keep the severity of these issues quiet, then it just shows the greedy, evil beast and contempt for their own customers that some of these corporations have. Now, you can say, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Now, I recommend that this researcher don't help Apple anymore. Or if you decide to do it, then report the bugs and give them an ultimatum. You have 3 days to fix this and 3 days to credit me, or I'm going to make these proof of concepts live. Now, if there's no reply or fix, then publish the proof of concepts. Let Apple sweat a little bit. So I'm done ranting. Let's move on to Juniper. Cybersecurity provider Juniper Networks released more than 40 security advisories to address more than 70 vulnerabilities that affected solutions. US CISA has also issued a security advisory to warn organizations of the security updates released by Juniper Networks. The flaws addressed by the company include remote code execution issues, private escalation, denial of service vulnerabilities, and cross-site scripting. The majority of the vulnerabilities affect Juniper's Junos OS operating system. The most severe issues reside in third-party components used by Contrail Insights and the Technology Session Smart Routers. The CVEs are CVE 2019-15605 and CVE 2019-15606. CVE 2019-15805 is HTTP request smuggling in Node.js 10, 12, and 13, which causes malicious payload delivery when transfer encoding is malformed. CVE 2019-15806 is a vulnerability including trailing whitespace in HTTP header values in Node.js 10, 12, and 13, causes bypass of authorization based on header value comparisons. Juniper said that it is not aware of attacks in the wild exploiting any of the addressed vulnerabilities. Adobe has released security updates to address 10 vulnerabilities across its Adobe Acrobat and Reader Connect, Commerce, and Campaign standard products. The IT giant addressed 4 vulnerabilities in Acrobat and Reader for Windows and macOS, 2 arbitrary code execution flaws tracked at CVE 2021-40728 and CVE 2021-40731, and the 2 privilege escalation issues tracked as CVE 2021-40729 and CVE 2021-40720. The 2 arbitrary code execution vulnerabilities have been rated as critical and received a CVSS score of 7.8. They are respectively a use after free and out of bounds issue vulnerability. Adobe addressed 2 vulnerabilities in Connect product tracked as CVE 2021-40719 and CVE 2021-40721. The CVE 2021-40719 is a deserialization of untrusted data issue that could lead to arbitrary code execution. It received a CVSS score of 9.8 out of 10. The company fixed an important severity issue in Acrobat Reader for Android tracked at CVE 2021-40724 that could lead to arbitrary code execution. Adobe addressed a critical deserialization vulnerability tracked as CVE 2021-40720 in Adobe Ops CLI, an open-source Python wrapper used internally by the company. The software company fixed a cross-site scripting flaw tracked as CVE 2021-40744 in Adobe Campaign Standard for Windows and Linux. The company is now aware of attacks in the wild exploiting the above vulnerabilities. So, make sure you have the most up-to-date versions. We move on to attacks, vulnerabilities, and updates. Microsoft announced that its Azure cloud service mitigated a 2.4 terabytes per second distributed denial of service attack at the end of August. It represents the largest distributed denial of service attack recorded to date.
What you want, a cookie?
The attack was aimed at an Azure customer in Europe, but Microsoft did not disclose the name of the victim. This is the largest DDoS attack that hit Azure customers prior to August 2020, when experts observed a 1 terabyte per second attack. According to Microsoft experts, the attack was launched through a botnet composed of approximately 70,000 devices. Most of the compromised devices were located in the Asia-Pacific region, such as Malaysia, Vietnam, Taiwan, Japan, and China, as well as the United States. Experts reported that the attack vector was a UDP reflection spanning more than 10 minutes with very short-lived bursts. Microsoft observed three main peaks, respectively at 2.4 terabytes per second, 0.55 terabits per second, and 1.7 terabits per second. The good news is that Microsoft successfully mitigated the attack. In the same period, the Russian internet giant Yandex was hit by another massive distributed denial of service attack, the largest one in the history of RUNET, the Russian internet designed to be independent of the World Wide Web and ensure the resilience of the country to an internet shutdown. The record magnitude of the massive DDoS attack was also confirmed by the US company Cloudflare, which specializes in protecting against such kinds of attacks. Curiously, Yandex, in partnership with third-party security firms, provides its customers a distributed denial of service protection. The attack peaked at the unprecedented rate of 21.4 million requests per second. Alexander Lyman, CEO of Crater Labs, a Yandex partner that provides distributed denial of service protection, revealed that the distributed denial of service attack was launched by a new distributed denial of service botnet tracked as Maris, or Latvian word for plague. According to a joint investigation conducted by Yandex and Crater Labs, the Maris botnet is composed of approximately more than 200,000 devices. Global IT consultancy giant Accenture discloses a data breach after the LockBit ransomware attack that hit the company in August 2021. News about the attack was included in the company's financial report for the fourth quarter and full fiscal year, which ended on August 31st, 2021. At the time of the attack, threat intelligence firm Cybele reported that the ransomware gang stole databases containing over 6 terabytes of data and were demanding a $50 million ransom. The experts also claimed that the hack was the result of an insider job. After the attack, Accenture pointed out that the operations were not impacted and that it was able to restore from backups. The company also denied claims that ransomware operators had stolen customer credentials. However, the ransomware gang told BP Computer that they had breached the computer network of an airport using Accenture software. A Chinese-speaking hacking group exploited a zero-day vulnerability in the Windows Win32k kernel driver to deploy a remote access Trojan tracked as Mystery Snail. The attacks were conducted between late August and early September 2021 and aimed at companies in the defense industry and IT firms. Kaspersky researchers reported multiple attacks on Microsoft servers leveraging a zero-day exploit. The vulnerability is a use-after-free issue in the Win32k kernel driver tracked as CV 2021-40449 that was addressed by Microsoft with the release of the October Patch Tuesday security updates. The researchers analyzed the RAT employed in the attack and found code similarity and reuse of command and control infrastructure that allowed them to link the operation to a Chinese-speaking app group known as IronHusky. The IronHusky app has been active at least since 2017, when the group was spotted targeting Russian and Mongolian government entities, aviation companies, and research institutes. The Mystery Snail RAT analyzed by the researcher was uploaded to VirusTotal on August 10th, 2021. Experts noticed that it was very big, with 8.29 megabytes in size, due to the presence of two very large functions that only waste processor clock cycles. The RAT is not very sophisticated. However, it implements 20 commands, including killing processes, managing files, spawning processes, and operating proxy connections. If you recall, I did a daily on this with much more detail, but the elevation of privilege exploit used in the latest attacks supports the following Windows products: Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, Windows Server 2008, Windows Server 2008 version 2, or R2, Windows Server 2012, Windows Server 2012 R2, Windows 10 build 14393, Windows Server 2016 build 14393, Windows 10 build 17763, and Windows Server 2019 build 17763. Google announced to have sent roughly 50,000 alerts of state-sponsored phishing or hacking attempts to customers during 2021. The data were provided by Google's Threat Analysis Group, or TAG, which tracks government-backed hacking campaigns, which warns of a significant increase in the number of the alerts compared to the previous year. The Google tag sends warnings in batches to all users who may be exposed to attacks from nation-state actors. The group avoids providing real-time alerts that could allow threat actors to determine the defense strategy implemented by the IT giant. Most significant campaigns targeting Google users were orchestrated by Russia-linked Act28 group, aka Fancy Bear, and the Iran-linked APT35, aka Charming Kitten group. The Act28 group, aka Fancy Bear, Pornstorm, Sophosy group, Sednit, and Strontium, has been active since at least 2007, and it has targeted governments, militaries, and security organizations worldwide. The group was involved also in the string of attacks that targeted 2016 presidential elections. In the US, of course. The group operates out of Military Unity 26165 of the Russian General Staff Main Intelligence Directorate, 85th Main Special Service Center. Most of Act28's campaigns leveraged spear phishing and malware-based attacks. This specific campaign accounted for 86% of the batch of warnings that the Google team sent out to this month. Google researchers also warned of an intense activity associated with the App35 group this year. The nation-state group was behind malware-based attacks, account hijacking, and cyber espionage campaigns aimed at gathering intelligence for the Tehran government. Thingiverse, a website dedicated to sharing user-created digital design files, has reportedly leaked a 36-gigabyte backup file that contains 228,000 unique email addresses and other personally identifiable information, confirms Troy Hunt, creator of the Have I Been Pawned data breach notification service, citing the circulation of this data set on a popular hacking forum. Thingiverse primarily provides free, open-source hardware designs that can be licensed under the GNU General Public License or Creative Commons licenses, and allows contributors to select a license type for the designs that they share, making it a popular choice among creative artists. After analyzing the data file from the hacking forum, Hunt tells Information Security Media Group that the backup file was dumped publicly exactly a year ago on October 13, 2020, and has remained exposed ever since. He adds that the leaked data appears to be a MySQL database that contains more than 255 million lines of data. The earliest date stamps in the data set appear to go back about a decade. However, I've not analyzed it closely enough, says Hunt. Hunt says that the leaked data, of the leaked data, there is data on the 3D models that are publicly accessible, but there are also email and IP addresses, usernames, physical addresses, and full names. Hunt says that the vast majority of the email addresses appear to be in the form of webdev plus username at makerbot.com, and he is not sure why this is done. However, following is an example of a complete record fetch from the data table. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these pieces of information here. I'm just going to skip to the next paragraph. Additionally, Hunt notes the presence of bcrypt password hashes in the above example, as well as the date of birth of the user being exposed. Thingiverse users, however, can breathe a bit easily, as there is no sign of plaintext password exposure in this data set. I haven't found passwords at this time, Hunt tells ISMG. An exposed data set was first discovered by a researcher and cyber enthusiast known by the alias PomPomPerin on Twitter and other forums. PomPomPerin tells ISMG that he made the discovery on October 1st, 2021, and shared it with one of his friends, who further verified it and then informed Thingiverse and MakerBot about it through email correspondence. PomPomPerin says he is not sure what exactly was written in the email, as he was not a part of that communication. Saying that he scanned the exposed database himself, PomPomPerin confirms that the leaked data set was a result of a misconfigured S3 bucket from Thingiverse's backup data. The old misconfigured S3 bucket. The Hillel Yaffa Medical Center in Hadera, Israel, was hit by a ransomware attack that impacted the system of the hospital. Local media outlets reported that the hospital has been using alternate systems to provide treatments to patients, hospital representatives said. The patients that cannot be treated at Hillel Yaffa due to the cyber attack will be transferred to the Laniado Medical Center in Netanyahu. Yigal Una, director of Israel's National Cyber Directorate, classified the incident as a major attack. Una pointed out that this is the first time that a ransomware attack crippled the system at a hospital in Israel. Israel's National Cyber Directorate agency announced that the health ministry has updated hospitals as a preventative measure. According to the Mariv media outlet, the attack was launched by a new ransomware group that also targeted a hospital in the US. Operators behind the Freakout, aka Necro or N3 Chromorph Python botnet, have added a POC exploit to Visual Tools DVR, a professional digital video recorder used in surveillance video systems. The proof of concept exploit code for this vulnerability is publicly available since July 2021. The botnet appeared on the threat landscape in November 2020. The attacks aimed at compromising the target systems to create an IRC botnet, which can later be used to conduct several malicious activities, including distributed denial of service attacks and crypto mining campaigns. At the end of September 2021, researchers at Juniper Threat Labs observed new activity from Necro Python. It actively exploited some services, including an exploit for Visual Tools DVR VX16 4.2.28.0 from visualtools.com. Upon exploiting the flaw, the bot will be downloaded into the system to deploy a Monero miner. According to Juniper experts, the Necrobot supports many functions, including network sniffer, spreading by exploits, spreading by brute force, using domain generation algorithm, installing Windows rootkit, receiving and executing bot commands, participating in distributed denial of service attacks, infecting HTML, JS, PHP files, installing Monero Miner. This script can run on both Windows and Linux systems. It leverages polymorphism to bypass signature-based defenses. The botnet uses domain generation algorithms, or DGA, for both its command and control infrastructure and download server. This version of the Necro botnet also includes exploits for the following vulnerabilities: CVE 2020-15568, TerraMaster TOS before version 4.1.29, CVE 2021-2900, Genaxis Platinum 44102.1, and a bunch of other letters and numbers. CVE 2020-25494, Zinwas, formerly SCO, Open Server version 5 and version 6, CVE 2020-28188, TerraMaster TOS versions less than 4.2.06, CVE 2019-12725, Zero Shell 3.9.0. Now, unlike previous versions of the Necro bot, the latest one is able to launch distributed denial of service attacks using Tor SOCKS proxies. The bot implements a scanner function that scans for the following ports, and if available, it launches its attack: ports 22, 80, 443, 8081, and 7002. Bad news for the Taiwanese electronics technology giant Acer. It disclosed a second security breach this year. The company revealed that its after-sales service systems in India were hit by an isolated attack. The incident was disclosed after threat actors had advertised the sale of more than 60 gigabytes of data on an underground cybercrime forum. The threat actors shared a link to stolen files and databases. Stolen information includes customer data, financial information, login details for Acer retailers and distributors from India. The threat actors published a video showing the stolen files and databases. This is the second time Acer suffered a security breach. In March, the computer giant was hit by Revel ransomware operators that compromised its systems and requested a record $50 million ransom. Next up, researchers at Microsoft Threat Intelligence Center and Microsoft Digital Security Unit uncovered a malicious activity cluster tracked as DEV-0343 that is targeting the Office 365 tenants of US and Israeli defense technology companies. Threat actors are launching extensive password spraying attacks aimed at the target organizations. The malicious campaign was first spotted in July 2021. Microsoft added that password spray attacks on Office 365 accounts with multi-factor authentication enabled failed. The DEV-0343 focuses on defense companies that support United States, European Union, and Israeli government partners producing military-grade radars, drone technology, satellite systems, and emergency response communication systems. Microsoft researchers said that the activity is aligned with Tehran interests, and its TTPs are similar to the ones another Iran-linked threat actor. The researchers speculate the attackers aimed at gaining access to commercial satellite imagery and proprietary shipping plans and logs. This information could allow the Iranian government to compensate for its developing satellite program. Threat actors behind DEV-0343 leverage an elaborate series of Tor IP addresses to obfuscate their infrastructure. The IT giant recommended organizations to look for the following tactics in logs and network activity to determine if their infrastructure was hit by the threat actors: extensive inbound traffic from Tor IP addresses for password spray campaigns, emulation of Firefox, most common, or Chrome browsers in password spray campaigns, enumeration of Exchange ActiveSync, most common, or auto-discover endpoints, use of enumeration password spray tools similar to the 0365 spray tool, use of auto-discover to validate accounts and passwords, observed password spray activity commonly peaking between 4 a.m. and 11 o'clock in the morning. LibreOffice and OpenOffice released security updates to address a moderate severity flaw that can allow attackers to manipulate documents to appear as signed by a trusted source. The flaw has been addressed with the release of version 4.1.1. The flaw was reported by Simon Rollman, Vladislav Mladinov, Christian Menka, and Jörg Schwenk of Ruhr University, Bochum, Germany. In a real attack scenario, threat actors can sign weaponized documents to make them appear as created by a trusted source. Experts pointed out that the CVE 2021-25635 flaw also affects LibreOffice that tracked the vulnerability as CVE 2021-25635. LibreOffice addressed the issue with the release of 7.0.5 or 7.1.1 and later. Users that are not able to update their installs to the latest version should disable the macro features. Researchers from Symantec Threat Hunter team discovered a ransomware family tracked as Yanluowang ransomware that was used in highly targeted attacks against large enterprises. The discovery is part of an investigation into a recent attempted ransomware attack against a large organization. The researchers noticed the use of the legitimate add-find command line activity directed query tool that is often abused by ransomware operators as a reconnaissance tool. Before being deployed on compromised devices, the attackers launch a malicious tool designed to prepare the environment with the following actions. Creates a .txt file with a number of remote machines to check in the command line. Uses Windows management instrumentation to get a list of processes running on the remote machines listed in the text file. Logs all the processes and remote machine names to processes.txt. The analysis of the samples collected by the experts revealed that the Yanluowang ransomware uses the Windows API for encryption. Upon deploying the Yanluowang ransomware, it will stop hypervisor virtual machines and all processes logged by the above tool, including SQL and backup solution Veeam. Then it will encrypt files. The ransomware appends the .yanluowang extension to the file names of the encrypted files. The ransom note readme.txt dropped on the infected machine warns the victims not to contact law enforcement or ask ransomware negotiation firms for help. The ransomware operators will launch distributed denial of service attacks against the victim if it will not respect their rules. The ransomware operators also threaten to make calls to employees and business partners to damage the brand reputation of the victims, along with targeting again the victim in a few weeks and delete its data. Critical security issues in the OpenSea NFT marketplace that allowed attackers to steal cryptocurrency wallet funds have been patched. The NFTs, also known as non-fungible tokens, are digital assets that can be sold and traded on the blockchain. While some NFTs, from a pixel cartoon to a popular meme, can reach a sale price of millions of dollars, the popularity of this phenomenon has also created a new attack vector for exploitation. On Wednesday, the Checkpoint research team said that flaws in the OpenSea NFT marketplace could have allowed hackers to hijack user accounts and steal entire crypto wallets of users by sending malicious NFTs. An investigation was launched after reports surfaced of malicious NFTs airdropped for free being used as conduits for cryptocurrency theft and account hijacking. The NFT itself and the airdrop was not the source of the issue. Instead, once an NFT had been gifted to a potential victim, they would view it, and then a pop-up would trigger requesting a signature to connect to a wallet. A secondary signature request prompt would then appear, and if accepted, could grant attackers access to an unwitting user's wallet, funds, and more. In OpenSea's case, the security flaw allowed the team to upload a .svg file containing a malicious payload, which would execute under the OpenSea storage subdomain. The researchers disclosed their findings to OpenSea on September 26th. Within less than an hour, the marketplace had triaged and verified the security issues and deployed a fix. In a statement, OpenSea said, "Security is fundamental to OpenSea. We appreciate the CPR team bringing this vulnerability to our attention and collaborating with us as we investigated the matter and implemented a fix within an hour of it being brought to our attention. These attacks would have relied on users approving malicious activity through a third-party wallet provided by connecting their wallet and providing a signature for the malicious transaction." The operators behind the infamous Trickbot, ITG23, and Wizard Spider malware have resurfaced with new distribution channels to deliver malicious payloads such as Conti ransomware. The gangs support other cybercrime groups such as known Hive 0105, Hive 0106, aka TA551, or ShatHack, and Hive 0107, supporting them in expanding their malware campaigns. The Trickbot botnet continues to evolve despite the operations conducted by law enforcement aimed at dismantling it. The authors recently implemented an update to the VNC module used for remote control over infected systems. In October, Microsoft's Defender team, FSISAC, ESET, Lumens, Black Hat, Lotus Labs, NTT, and Broadcom's cybersecurity division Symantec joined forces and announced a coordinated effort to take down the command and control infrastructure of the infamous Trickbot botnet. That only lasted a couple weeks now, didn't it? Even if Microsoft and its partners have brought down the Trickbot infrastructure, its operators attempted to resume the operations by setting up new command and control servers online. Following the takedown, the operators behind the Trickbot malware have implemented several improvements to make it more resilient. Trickbot is a popular banking Trojan that has been around since October 2016. Its authors have continuously upgraded it by implementing new features. Operators continue to offer the botnet through a multi-purpose malware as a service model. Threat actors leverage the botnet to distribute a broad range of malware, including InfoStealer and ransomware such as Conti and Ryuk. To date, the Trickbot botnet has already infected more than 1 million computers. BM X-Force researchers, along with Scilera analysts, analyzed a growing number of campaigns carried out by Trickbot operators to deliver proprietary malware, in some cases through other cybercrime groups such as the Hive-015, Hive-016, and Hive-017. Earlier this year, the cybercrime group relied on email campaigns delivering Excel documents and a call center ruse dubbed Bazzacall in a malware campaign aimed at corporate users. Starting from June 2021, the group started a partnership with 2 prominent cybercrime affiliates that added the use of hijacked email threads and fraudulent website customer inquiry forms. This partnership allowed Trickbot operators to increase the volume of messages in its mail spam or mole spam campaigns and to diversify the delivery methods. In late August 2021, experts noticed that the Hive-017 affiliate was employing a new tactic that involves sending email messages to target companies, informing them that their websites have been performing distributed denial of service attacks on its servers. The messages urged the recipients to click on a link for supposed evidence and how to solve the problem. Upon clicking the link, it'll download a zip archive containing a malicious JavaScript downloader titled Stolen Images Evidence.js or DDoS Attack Proof and Instructions to How to Fix It JS that contacts a remote URL to download the Bazzler Loader malware to drop Cobalt Strike and a PowerShell script. Researchers from Amnesty International have uncovered a cyber espionage campaign tracked as Donot Team, aka APT 35, which was orchestrated by threat actors in India and Pakistan. Experts believe the attackers use a spyware developed by an Indian company called Inefu Labs. Amnesty highlighted the risks for activists in Togo of being victims of operations conducted by cyber mercenaries. According to a new report released by the organization, the Donot Team app group employed Android applications, posing as secure chat application and malicious emails in attacks aimed at a prominent Togolese human rights defender. In the past, the Donot Team spyware was found in attacks outside of South Asia. The investigation also discovered links between the spyware and infrastructure used in these attacks and Inefu Labs, a cybersecurity company based in India. The attacks on the Togolese activists started in December 2019 and lasted 2 months. Threat actors used WhatsApp messages to spread the malware. The account was associated with an Indian phone number that's registered in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Once installed, the spyware would allow attackers to take over the device, controlling camera and microphone, access the sensitive information stored on the devices, like photos, files, and spy on WhatsApp communications. The actors also used email messages as attack vectors. The malicious messages were sent from a Gmail account with the Togolese name Atwaki logo and used a weaponized Word document that triggered the CVE 2017-0199 RCE flaw. In the second attack chain, the first stage spyware would eventually load Donut Team's full Windows spyware framework dubbed YTY. The YTY framework gives the attacker complete access to target's system and any connected USB drives. The malicious code also records keystrokes, takes regular screenshots of the computer, and downloads additional spyware components. The investigation conducted by Amnesty's researchers revealed that one of the domains employed in the operation, server.authshieldserver.com, that pointed to an IP address 122.160.158.3, was used by the India-based company named Inefu Labs. So there's your link. The company denied any involvement in the surveillance campaign attributed to the Donut Team apt. Avast Threat Labs researchers reported that the MyKings botnet, also known as Smominru and Dark Cloud, is still alive, and it's allowing its operators to earn huge amounts of money via crypto mining activities. Avast researchers reported that since 2019, MyKings operators have amassed at least $24 million in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin. However, experts pointed out that the botnet uses more than 20 cryptocurrencies in total. For this reason, the total financial gains could be greater than the $24 million. The malware was first spotted in February 2018 by researchers from Proofpoint when the bot was using the Eternal Blue exploit to infect Windows computers and recruit them in Monero cryptocurrency mining activities. According to the researchers, the Smominru botnet has been active at least since 2016, and at the time of its discovery infected more than 526,000 Windows computers. The AVAS researchers have analyzed 6,700 unique samples of the bot since the beginning of 2020 and claim to have protected over 144,000 AVAS customers from attacks launched through the MyKings botnet. Most of the infections were observed in Russia, India, and Pakistan. Now, one of the defense mechanisms used by bot authors is to hide the addresses of the crypto wallets used in the campaign. AVAS's researchers also discovered that botnet operators also monetize via stream trade frauds. The medical technology giant Olympus was forced to shut down its computer network in America, US, Canada, and Latin America following a cyber attack. The attack took place on October 10th, 2021. The company did not reveal the type of attack that it was suffered, but the circumstances suggest a possible ransomware attack. Anyway, it did not say if it is also suffered a data breach. The investigation is still ongoing, and Olympus states that it will continue to provide updates as new information becomes available. Olympus issued a statement to announce that its European, Middle East, and Africa computer network was hit by a ransomware attack. In September, Olympus issued a statement to announce that its European, Middle East, and Africa computer network was hit by a ransomware attack. A ransomware note that was found on the infected systems claimed that the company was hit by the Black Matter ransomware gang. Researchers Moritz Lipp and Daniel Gruss of the Graz University of Technology and Michael Schwartz of the CISPA Helmholtz Center for Information Security devised a new side-channel attack that affects AMD CPUs. The group was one of the teams that first discovered Meltdown and Spectre vulnerabilities. Their successful exploitation can allow threat actors to steal sensitive information from the memory of the vulnerable system. The new attacks, devised by the researchers, leverage time and power measurements of prefetch instructions. Experts pointed out that their variations can be observed from unprivileged user space. Experts demonstrated their attack technique with multiple case studies and real-world scenarios. The researchers demonstrated the first microarchitectural break of fine-grained exploit mitigation technique Kazler on AMD CPUs. Their monitored kernel activity if audio is played over Bluetooth, and were able to establish a covert channel. The team also demonstrated how to exfiltrate data from kernel memory using simple Spectre gadgets in the Linux kernel. The flaws were collectively tracked as CV 2021-26318. According to AMD, the medium severity flaws impacts all of its chips. However, the chipmaker doesn't recommend any mitigations because the attack scenarios presented by the researchers do not directly leak data across address space boundaries. The researchers reported their findings to AMD on June 16, 2020, and the remaining parts of the November 24, 2020. AMD acknowledged the findings and provided feedback on February 16, 2021. The research paper also includes countermeasures and mitigation strategies for the presented attacks, such as page table isolation, flare, prefetch configuration MSRs, and restricting access. The development team behind the Git GUI client GitKraken has fixed a vulnerability that was leading to the generation of weak SSH keys. The developers addressed the flaw with the release of version 8.0.1. The issue resides in the open source library used by the Git GUI client to generate SSH keys. All the keys generated using versions 7.6x to 7.7x and 8.0.0 of GitKraken are potentially affected. The latest version of the Git GUI client, version 8.0.1, uses a new SSH key generation library. This issue only affects GitKraken users who generated SSH keys through the GitKraken interface using version 7.6.x, 7.7.x, and 8.0.0. If you're not sure what version you used to generate your SSH key, we encourage you to renew your key through the following process. Reads the advisory. Now, affected users need to remove all old generated SSH keys stored locally, generate new SSH keys using GitKraken 8.0.1 or later for each of their Git service providers. The development team already notified the Git hosting service providers, GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, and Azure DevOps. They also revoked the weak public keys used. A joint cybersecurity advisor published today by the FBI, NSA, CISA, and the EPA revealed 3 more attacks launched by ransomware gangs against U.S. water and wastewater treatment facilities this year. This is the first time that these attacks are publicly disclosed. They took place in March, July, and August, respectively. The 3 facilities hit by ransomware operators are located in the states of Nevada, Maine, and California. In all the attacks, the ransomware encrypting files on the infected systems, and in one of the security incidents, threat actors compromised the system used to control the SCADA industrial equipment. The advisory reports common tactics, techniques, and procedures, known as TTPs, used by threat actors to compromise IT and OT networks of WWS facilities. They include spear phishing, campaign aimed at personnel to deliver malicious payloads such as ransomware and rats, exploitation of services and applications exposed online that enable remote access to WS networks, like RDP access, and exploitation of vulnerabilities affecting control systems running vulnerable firmware versions. The three new incidents included in the advisory are: in August 2021, malicious cyber actors used Ghost variant ransomware against a California-based WWS facility. The ransomware variant had been in the system for about a month and was discovered when 3 supervisory control and data acquisition servers displayed a ransomware message. In July 2021, cyber actors used remote access to introduce Zucano ransomware onto a main-based WWS facility's wastewater SCADA computer. The treatment system was run manually until the SCADA computer was restored using local control and more frequent operator rounds. In March 2021, cyber actors used an unknown ransomware variant against a Nevada-based WWS facility. The ransomware affected the victim's SCADA system and backup systems. The SCADA system provides visibility and monitoring, but is not a full industrial control system. We move on to other security news. The U.S. Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, has identified approximately $5.2 billion worth of Bitcoin transactions likely associated with operations of the top 10 most commonly reported ransomware variants. FinCEN analyzed the data set composing of 2,184 SARs filed between 1st of January 2011 and the 30th of June 2021 and identified 177 CVC, convertible virtual currency, wallets, addresses that were used in ransomware operations associated with the above ransomware variants. The U.S. agency identified $590 million in ransomware related to SARs, and plus 42 compared to 2020. Studying data generated from ransomware related to SARs, the mean average total monthly suspicious amount of ransomware transactions was $66.4 million, and the median average was $45 million. According to the financial trend analysis, the most popular ransomware related payment method in reported transactions was Bitcoin. FinCEN identified 68 active ransomware variants. The most commonly reported was Revel or Sodinokibi, Conti, Darkside, and Avedon, and Phobos. FinCEN also identified most common money laundering techniques used by ransomware operators in 2021, including payments in anonymity-enhanced cryptocurrencies, AECs, like Monero, avoiding reusing wallet addresses, chain hopping to exchange funds into other cryptocurrency schemes, cashing out at centralized exchanges, and using mixing services and decentralized exchanges. The FBI and the Naval Criminal Investigation Service have arrested an engineer and his wife for trying to sell confidential military data. On Sunday, the U.S. Department of Justice named Jonathan and Diana Toby of Annapolis, Maryland, as the suspects in a plot to sell information to a foreign government. According to the complaint, for close to a year, Jonathan, with the assistance of his wife, attempted to sell restricted class data in exchange for cryptocurrency. Jonathan served as a nuclear engineer for the U.S. Navy. During his time with the Navy, the 42-year-old worked on the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program and had secured high-level national security clearance. On April 1st, 2020, Jonathan allegedly sent a sample pack of information relating to the nuclear program to an unnamed foreign government, together with a letter that allegedly read something like, "I apologize for this poor translation into your language. Please forward this letter to your military intelligence agency. I believe this information will be of great value to your nation. This is not a hoax." The DOJ has accused the engineer of then forming a relationship over email with someone he believed was part of his government. Proton Mail was used for back-and-forth exchanges over the course of several months under the names Alice and Bob. By June 8th, the contactee had sent Toby a $10,000 payment in Monero currency in good faith, and several weeks later, the engineer allegedly acted. The husband and wife traveled to West Virginia to an agreed drop location. While Diana assumed the role of lookout, Jonathan then placed half a peanut butter sandwich on the drop site that contained an SD card containing stolen nuclear reactor program information. The SD card was then retrieved by the contactee, who happened to be an undercover FBI agent, who sent Toby a further $20,000 in cryptocurrency. After the second payment was made, the engineer emailed the agent the decryption key required to access the information contained in the SD card. The FBI was then able to verify the legitimacy of the data, and a second drop was arranged for the price of $70,000. This time, Toby smuggled the SD card into a chewing gum package. Among the stolen data was schematics for the Virginia-class submarine, a $3 billion design of which vehicles are in the active service and are expected to remain so until at least 2060. It was almost time for law enforcement to act, and so they arranged for yet another package of data to be exchanged, and in the next drop zone, the pair were arrested. The Tobes were arrested on October 9th, and they are due to appear in Martinsburg, West Virginia federal court on October 12th to face accusations of conspiracy to communicate restricted data and communicating restricted data as violations of the Atomic Energy Act. The FBI and the NCIS are continuing to investigate this. Dutch police warned customers of a booter service accused to carry out distributed denial of service attacks to stop using it to avoid prosecution. The letter sent by the Dutch police aims to work as a deterrent for cybercriminal activities, explaining to them the consequence of prosecution due to criminal activities. The Dutch authorities have already contacted 29 individuals, warning them to have collected evidence of their criminal activities through the platform. The recipients are individuals that have purchased the booter service offered by the website www.mindsearch.rip. The investigation was launched in 2020 after a gaming provider was hit by a distributed denial of service attack launched via this booter service. The police received dozens of reports from other victims of distributed denial of service attacks launched from the same platform. On July 30th, 2020, the police searched the homes of 2 suspects and seized computers and telephones. The investigation is still ongoing. In April 2020, Dutch authorities shut down 15 distributed denial of service for hire services, aka DDoS booters or DDoS stressor. The operation was conducted with the support of Europol, Interpol, and the FBI, along with web hosting providers and domain registrars. The DDoS for hire services allowed users to sign up and launch DDoS attacks against any system exposed online. On April 10th, 2020, Dutch police also arrested a 19-year-old man from Breda. He is suspected of having shut down the websites Mijnoverheid.nl and Overheid.nl by carrying out DDoS attacks on March 19th. In October 2019, a joint operation conducted by the Netherlands National Criminal Investigation Department and National Cybersecurity Center allowed to track down and seize 5 servers that were composing a cybercrime underground bulletproof hosting service. The servers were hosted at an unnamed data center in Amsterdam. It was used by tens of IoT botnets involved in DDoS attacks worldwide. The bulletproof hosting service was used to host malware and command and control servers of several DDoS botnets. Security Service of the Ukraine, SSU, has arrested a hacker who controlled a DDoS botnet composing of 100,000 devices that was available for rent. The botnet was also used for other malicious activities, including spam campaigns, brute force attacks, and reconnaissance and web-based attacks. The agents arrested the man at his home in Prikharpatia. He is a representative of the Russian electronic system of instant payments WebMoney, which is subject to the sanctions of the National Security and Defense Council. The crook was advertising his botnet on closed forums and in Telegram chats. He accepted payments through electronic platforms such as WebMoney. The man used his real address to register an account on WebMoney, an error that allowed the Ukrainian police to find his residence. The botmaster is now facing charges of the violation of Part 2 of the Art 361-1 of the Criminal Code of Ukraine for the sale and rent of malicious software and its use to interfere with computer systems networks. The man could risk several years in jail in case a Ukrainian judge will condemn him. Only several years. The National Security Agency is warning organizations against the use of wildcard TLS certificates and the new Alpaca TLS attack. The wildcard certificate is a public key certificate that can be used to secure at first-level subdomains of single domain name. A wildcard certificate allows administrators to use a single wildcard certificate to protect each of subdomains. Anyway, researchers warn that the use of wildcard TLS certificates could be exploited by attackers to decrypt TLS encrypted traffic. NSA released the guidance to help secure the Department of Defense, DoD, National Security Systems, NSS, and Defense Industrial Base, DIB. The agency urges administrators to assess the use of wildcard certificate inside their organizations. It also outlines the risks of falling victim to a web application exploitation method called application layer protocols allowing cross-protocol attacks, aka alpaca, which can allow attackers to access sensitive information. Under certain conditions, the alpaca technique allows attackers to exploit fault-tolerance features of web browsers and servers, combined with protocol confusion between HTTP and other text-based protocols, protected by TLS to perform malicious actions and view sensitive data. Threat actors could use the technique to steal session cookies and other private user data, or execute arbitrary JavaScript in the context of the vulnerable web server. The Cybersecurity Information Sheet provides other mitigations for poorly implemented certificates in Alpaca, including understanding the scope of each wildcard certificate used in your organization, using an application gateway or web application firewall in front of servers, including non-HTTP servers, using encrypted DNS and validating DNS security extensions to prevent DNS redirection, enabling application layer protocol negotiation, Alpine, a TLS extension that allows the server application to specify permitted protocols where possible, and maintaining web browsers at the latest version with current updates. So with that, I say thanks for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the bell if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.